And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a special hello goes out to the Director of Media for the Boston Bruins alumni, Mr. Mark Boland. I see you, Marky.
Welcome to the Pro Hockey Alumni Podcast, the home of behind-the-scenes interviews, stories, and memories that celebrate the heritage of the great game of hockey. The Pro Hockey Alumni Podcast is hosted by Mark Willand.
Episode 16 of the Pro Hockey Alumni Podcast features one of my all-time favorite players, the highly respected, hard-working, great leader, Terry Ruskowski, who had a long big league career. Began with the Houston Aeros, also played the Chicago Blackhawks, LA Kings, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Minnesota North Stars. He was the captain of the Aeros, Blackhawks, Kings, and Penguins. Of course, he led the Winnipeg Jets to the 1979 Avco Cup. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about his experiences on joining the Houston Aeros, becoming the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks. Terry talks about some of the all-time greats that he played with and some behind-the-scenes stories of Gordie Howe, Stan Mikita, and Mario Lemieux, among others. And Terry also reveals for the first time the biggest regret of his big league hockey career. Enjoy this interview with Terry Ruskowski. Well, we're back on the show with none other than Terry Ruskowski. Terry, a real privilege and pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, Mark, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Terry, always you're synonymous with leadership and with hustle and with grit. Those are the type of things that always associated with you. And incredibly, a four-time captain in the professional ranks. But it starts a long time ago. But I wanted to start this discussion in Swift Current. When you're playing with a couple of very interesting characters, both of whom I had the chance to cross paths with in my career, in Pittsburgh with Brian Trottier and in Hartford with Tiger Williams. You were with them, though, and you guys were just teenagers. Talk to you a little bit about that Swift Current team and those two in particular.
Tiger was, Williams was really all of his through his minor career was a defenseman. I know playing against him in Pee Wee and Bantam, and we played for provincials against him, and he was always a defenseman. He went to Swift Creek. We all went to Swift Current. We didn't make the team. And then we all went down to Humboldt to play. Not Brian, but myself and Tiger. We went down there to play, and the next year he came back to Swift Current to try out, and he played defenseman. And we decided, but I suggested that maybe we should try him as forward. And he said, "Well, with who?" And I said, "Well, put him on my line." So his last year, I think he scored over 50 goals in his last year in junior. And, he was a character, there's no question. His skating wasn't awfully great, but he could shoot the puck pretty well, and he took a backseat to nobody, and verbally and in physically part of the game. So, but he was intense. He came to play. He came to play every game, and I appreciated that as a fellow teammate. I appreciated that a lot. And then Brian Trottier is just a great guy. Just a great guy.
Yeah, he's very.
We still talk.
Oh, that's good. He's such an interesting guy. If you don't know him, I don't know if you appreciate it, but he, for someone like yourself, he has that musical side to him. He's funny. Yep. He's just he's a real personality.
Well, his dad, if I'm not mistaken, either sold a farm or bought a house inside Swift Current, because they lived in Val Marie, if I'm not mistaken, outside of Swift Current, and bought a house, and they all lived in Swift Current through the hockey season. And so Brian stayed right at home with his family. So that was, they were serious about their hockey, and there was a good reason why, because Brian was an excellent, excellent player, and scored goals, set up goals, just a great guy. Just a great guy. It's just a good hockey player. I don't think I've ever played against a guy when I played him in the NHL that was stronger in his skates than him. There's some times I try to hit him, and not dirty, but physical hit, knock him off the puck. There's just no way. It was like hitting a brick wall. He kind of smirk at me and skate away.
Right.
But terrific player, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he's just a talented hockey player and a great guy.
Absolutely. Well, after your success in Swift Current, you have a decision to make. You're drafted by both the Chicago Blackhawks and the WHA's Houston Aeros. Tell me about that thought process. Now, at Houston, they had just come off a championship, and of course, they have the Howe family. Weather's nice, and the Chicago Blackhawks, of course, the National Hockey League, but they've got Ivan Boldyrev, Stan Mikita, Pitt Martin at the center spot. What's your thought process at that time?
Well, it really, Mark, there really wasn't a thought process to it. I knew what I was going to do. Chicago offered me. I remember this Billy Ray saying, us small guys got to stick together. And I'm going, okay, thank you, Mr. Ray. I appreciate it. That's when they drafted me, I think, in the bottom of the third or top of the fourth. But Houston made a two-round secret draft at Christmas time, and that was, I think, their second-round pick. So I was kind of flattered about that. But when it came down to negotiation talks and where I was going to play, Chicago offered me to go down and play in Dallas, which is not a bad place to play, mind you, but still it wasn't where I wanted to be. And Houston offered me a no-cut, no-trade deal for 3 years. So even though it wasn't for much money, but that was the best place for me to go. So
absolutely,
that's where I end up. And I, you know what? And I know I made the right decision because I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Well, I can imagine. That's a very interesting scenario for you, a young guy. You come into that Houston team, and putting the Howes aside for a second, it's a real veteran team, a lot of character guys, Ted Taylor and Larry Lund and Paul Popiel and John Schella. For a young guy like yourself and Rich Preston as well coming into a group like that, it had to be quite an experience for you.
It was the best time for hockey-wise. It was the best time of my life. I had the best time, and you know what? We were such a close-knit team, like a really close-knit team. Like if something ever happened to anybody in the team, there was just not one or two guys. The whole team would confront that guy that did something wrong with one of our players. When we went to a party, everybody went to a party. The coach, everybody went. We were so close. We cared and loved each other. And we still keep in contact at some point. I just saw Larry Lund here in last month come down for an event. Saw him there, John Gray. They're just good people, good, honest people that wanted to win. They cared about each other. And somebody asked me about all the teams you played for, which one would you think would win a championship? And I said, I don't know if we had the most talented team in Houston. We had a good team, but we're the closest team we ever had. It was so close. It was awesome, and of course playing with the Howes and Gordie was great. What a thrill! You grew up watching him play, right. And all of a sudden you're in the elevator, and he's right next to you, and he's looking at you. He says, "You know the same floor I'm going to, kid?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "You must be the new kid in the block." I go, "Yes, sir." It was amazing. It was just. What do you say to a guy that I don't know? But all I know is I wanted to be around him as much as I could, and I tried, going to the airports, doing different things all the time. I wanted to be next to him. I wanted anything that would rub off on. Anything that fell off him, I wanted to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I had to. Gordie loved that Houston Aeros team, and I had a similar experience, not as a player, but I began my career working in the National Hockey League in PR for the Hartford Whalers. And the very first day I arrive on the job, my first job, my boss tells me I have to drive Gordie Howe to a charity event. So I'm driving in a car, and I was so nervous. I'm like, don't make a mistake. Of course, Gordie is so relaxed. He couldn't care less. He treats you like you've been there for 20 years. But and I got a chance to spend 6 years working with him and closely with Colleen, and it was a great experience. But I do know they loved that Houston team, and you could definitely feel it.
They did.
And as years have gone on, I've talked to different guys like Larry Lund, Cam Connor, what have you, and there's such a, as you said, such a camaraderie there that has spanned through the years, and it's great to see that.
Yeah, it really was awesome.
Terry, by the time the Aeros go along, and like in 76, 77, at the end of that year, they had a chance to go to the National Hockey League. It didn't work out with the 6-team merger proposal. But by that point, between yourself, Rich Preston, John Tonelli, Morris Lukowich, the Howes, Ron Graham, Cam Connor. You've got a real good team at that point. I thought an NHL ready team. What are your thoughts about that? I'm going to get your thoughts about that team's talent level and your readiness to play in the National Hockey League if that was what came to pass.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we had an exhibition game with the St. Louis Blues in Houston, and we didn't have the House family because they were doing that Russia U.S. thing,
right?
And they were in Russia, so we played against the team in St. Louis in Houston, and we beat them. I think it was 5-2 or 5-3, and our line, I didn't get any points, but our line's got three of the goals, so we were pretty pumped about that. I really think that we would have been very competitive, even though we always thought that the NHL was such a great league and all that, and we found out when the merger came through that it was a very good league.
Right.
But we always felt that we really could have been competitive. And I always wonder, one of my favorite people that I played with is Stan Mikita, and God rest his soul. He is a tremendous hockey player and a tremendous guy. Just passed away here just recently.
Right.
And I always admired him. 21 years he played for the same team. You know what? And I thought back and I said, geez, I wonder how it'd be 21 years in Houston. How great that would be.
Right.
Like just great how it'd be unbelievable. But unfortunately that wasn't the case and we had to disperse, and that was the unfortunate part.
Right, but you did disperse, and something that could only happen in the WHA, the core of your team ends up going to Winnipeg, and a team that had just lost Anders Hedberg, Ulf Nilsson, Danny LeBratton, and Tommy Bergman. So the team was kind of in real trouble going into that last WHA season. All of a sudden, the Houston Aero players arrive. That's an interesting season. The fans up there still really love that team. And, when we post things about you, that team, Kim Claxton, those guys, it always gets a great response online.
It's nice to hear.
But it was such an interesting season. You guys come together with the core guys from the Jets, your core guys at Aeros. You have to kind of come together. You have a coaching change. Talk a little bit about it. Plus, you lost Lars Eriksson for the whole regular season. Talk a little bit about that 78-79 Winnipeg Jets team.
I think they liked us because it was so different from the teams they had before. Like, we weren't a good team when we first got there together. We just weren't a good team. We hated Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg hated the Aeros because we were always in the finals going against each other for the championship. And now this, hanging, banging guys. I fought Lyle Moffat, in the penalty box. We had things all hanging over our arms and legs and got kicked out. We just didn't like each other. And it took us a long time to actually be a team. And I think the fans of Winnipeg saw the transition from not liking each other to liking, to caring, and then, like I say, loving each other and going have a chance to win. But we were coming together, but the last key was Tom McVie coming in and taking over from the coach. Even though Hillman did, I think, a real good job, and I hate when coaches get fired because it's the coach that got let go 3 times, which I don't like. But I think he was the guy that came in there. He didn't give a darn. If you're Jed, you didn't care. You just treat everybody the same way. You're skating this, you're skating over here. Let's do it. And every drill that we did skating wise, he did the same thing. And it was amazing. When the first not training camp, but the first practice, and I remember Scott Campbell having a broken jaw, and he was having migraine headaches, and so they thought it was a tooth problem, so they pulled a tooth in the front. And he was wired jaw because he had his jaw broken. And, man, he just skated us. Like, he just skated us, Mark, like you would not believe. And going, this is like training camp all over again. This is crazy. And we're all coming off, and Scott was, like, trying to throw up through the tooth, and he was just struggling. And he said he's coming off, and Tom McVie was there by the door, and Scott goes, and I was helping him off because he was just dead tired, like, throwing up, and he goes, is that the best you can do? And Tom McVie says, wait till tomorrow. And I'm going, Scotty, shut up. Just shut up. You're killing me. But he skated us, and we had a week or so off before we played Quebec City in the finals. We won the championship, and we just walked all over them. Like, they didn't have a chance. And, of course, Edmonton was a little bit different case. they had a really good, strong team, and they were prepared for us. And I think that they realized that we were fourth, just made the playoffs in the fourth position, and they were first. They had home ice advantage and all that kind of stuff. And I think we surprised them. The team that we had was very, very talented, very talented. And when we put it all together, when Tom McVie came, we put it all together. We were a damn good hockey team, Mark.
Yeah, you sure did.
Good hockey team.
A lot of depth. One guy I was going to ask you about who gets kind of forgotten in the discussions of the great defenseman of that era is Lars Eriksson. What are your thoughts about your memories about Lars Eriksson?
I didn't know him very well because I played against him, and he came in and he had Achilles heel or Achilles tendon snapped, and he couldn't play a whole lot, and maybe at the very end he did again. Just a professional, just a nice guy that was professional, that treated everybody nice. And Schuberg, when he got the puck, all you had to do was skate hard and get in the open and put your stick down because it was on your stick and you were going full bore somewhere else. He wasn't big, but he positioned himself so well that he always seemed to get the puck, or he always separated the puck from the player and make a play. He was just a solid, good defenseman that did things proper, not one time, but every time. Right. And he was so easy to play for and play with. He's just, as soon as he got the puck, just go, because you're getting it.
Right. Now, he was obviously talented, as were a lot of the guys on that team. But over the years in the WHA, and I could tell you one quick story. When I was working for the Whalers, Hartford was the last home office of the World Hockey Association. So one day in the summer we had some time to kill, and I went through this back office, and I found these old tapes, old films. And one of them was a tape that was sent to the league by the Aeros for a suspension hearing for Steve Durbano, and it happened to be a fight with you. And I don't know what he did to you in that fight. I was eye gouging or something that he got suspended for. But you for a guy your size, I mean, you fought some really, really tough guys. My question is, especially in that league, who's the toughest guy that you went toe to toe with?
There were numerous guys. I always thought the guys that were my size were the toughest ones to fight because they were as strong and as fast as punching as I was. I don't think I hit hard, but I hit often, right. And I was quick with the punches, and I think that helped me as a smaller guy against the bigger guys. The bigger guys had to wind up, and if they had a really long arms, I try to get in tight on them and try to throw as many punches as I can. One of the guys from Hartford was Nick. How's about you for you? That's what I call him. Nick, how's about you for you? and he was a tough guy, and we fought in Hartford in the playoffs, and then Semenko was tough. Obviously, I had to get in tight against him. Maxwell gave me a hard time. And I fought Sutter from St. Louis often, and we had some pretty good bouts. But Maxwell, he helped me out, and I could never get onto him because he had longer arms. As soon as I get it through the gloves, he outreached me, and I couldn't get in tight to him, and he frustrated me probably more than anybody else.
Right.
But the other fight that I had with New York Islander, same size as I was, and it was
Gary Howitt.
It was Gary Howe. We had it. Yeah, we had it out pretty well, and the one time, and the guy from Boston, Stan Jonathan. I fought him twice in one game in Chicago. It was pretty good dukes too. But
yeah, he was a tough dude.
Yeah,
to be
I had
sure.
had to do what I had to do to survive, though, Mark. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the greatest hands. I could pass. The thing I could do well is pass, and I worked hard. And then the thing about me, Mark, if I didn't meet the match, if I got challenged and I didn't meet the challenge, I couldn't live with myself. I'd call myself a coward, a chicken, and even though if I got beat up, at least I know I showed up. And that's I guess that was to a fault because now I have false teeth.
Well,
but it was a thing that I had. It was a thing I had to do, Mark. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't meet the challenge. I know sometimes it was stupid, but it was just. I guess it was just me and my living with myself in that kind of situation.
Well, it certainly didn't go unnoticed because a lot of respect for you with the players who played with you and against you, and nothing speaks louder than being chosen captain of 4 different teams. Speaking of which, you're welcome. And as I said, as a fan, I was really pulling for you, and the WHA amalgamates into the NHL. John Ferguson wants to keep you. He's trying to keep you. Only 2 skaters can be retained, and you end up finally with the Chicago Blackhawks. And you have a terrific first year. You're with Rich Preston again. Incredibly, you guys now on your 3rd straight team together. You have the RPM line with Rich and Paul Mulvey. But you're finally in the National Hockey League and with a great franchise, Original 6 franchise. How was that experience being a Chicago Blackhawk that first year, 79-80?
Mark, it was absolutely amazing. It was like a dream come true because till this day, I always think, and I know for a fact, they're the nicest logo, the nice uniforms of all sports. I don't care what you say, whatever said. And if people call it, they're the greatest uniforms, the logo in all the soccer, baseball, foot. I don't care. They're the best logo ever. And to have that in front of your chest and have number 8 and your name in the back was a true honor. And it was flattering to be there, but the super flattering part is when I was just there for a month or so and they made me captain, which has just totally shocked me. I had no idea it was coming. You know, Keith Magnuson was a good friend of mine, and God rest his soul too, because he was a great person, a great family guy, and a great leader, and a heck of a player. He decided to call it quits. And
right.
I'll never forget the time. Like I was on the phone, they told me that in the coach's office, and I called my dad on the phone. I said, "Dad, you're not going to believe this, but they just made me captain Chicago Black." "Oh, son, I'm so proud of you. It's so great." And his favorite player, till the day he died, was Stan Mikita.
Oh.
He goes, "How's Stan?" I goes, "Dad, he's incredible. He's such a good guy. Really? Does he work hard? Does he do this and do that?" And as soon as he started talking, Stan was getting dressed, walking out to his car, and I said, he goes, "No problem." And he always said, "Dziękuję, dzień dobry, dzień dobry. How you doing, Walter?" You know, always we talk to everybody. That's made him different and special. And they talked for a while, and I said, "Thanks, Stosh, thank you so much." He goes, "No problem." So I get back on the phone. He goes, "Terry, thank you." Was that really Stan? That was really Stan Mikita. He goes, "Oh man, I can't believe I'm talking to Stan Mikita." But playing for the Blackhawks was just a tremendous honor, and I think even more so when I'm sitting down and I'm looking at my jerseys, I'm thinking, "Oh God, man, what I should appreciate it more than I did at the time," because that was just a super honor to play for the Chicago Blackhawks. I was just in that arena. The fans were just, oh my gosh, it is incredible when they got hopping and popping, man. And the national anthem starts to play and everybody starts cheering and stand. Man, it just gives you goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it now after all these years.
Yeah, I mean, me just listening to it.
It was an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I remember in you guys made a playoff run in '82, and it was just hockey was back in Chicago, Mark, and it was crazy loud.
Mark, when we were coming up the stairs from where our dressing room was, we had to walk the stairs up to go to the ice. And this is for warm-up, and nobody comes for warm-up. You know, we may have 1,000, 2,000 people there getting early. There was about 12,000 people there, and when we got on the ice, they start cheering.
Right.
Warm-up. Oh, I was so pumped. I told Bob Polfrey was our coach. I said, "Polly, start me, and don't take me off. Don't even bother taking me off. I am so jacked right now. I want to play the whole game." It was just an incredible feeling. It was just no other feeling like that, I've ever felt before. As a player.
I can imagine, and I guess I can't really imagine. I can't with standing on that ice and having 18,000 people in that organ and that history. But it's great to have life experiences like that. That's the beautiful thing about it. You get that C, and you've got that Blackhawks crest, and it doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't.
And
the only thing worse is I got traded. You know the thing that really hampered me in Chicago. And I should have never done it. And I think back on my career, and I said, geez, why did I do that for? I had a bad knee. I had stretched ligaments and torn cartilage. And it would get, every time I got hit a certain way, I'd miss, 2 or 3 games. It'd get better. I'd work on it, and then I'd be fine for another 2 or 3 weeks. And it just, kept on that way. But it didn't bother me a whole lot once it healed a little bit.
Right.
A team doctor and Bob Pulver came to my house and said, Terry, I think the best thing for you is to get that operated on and get that settled. I said, are you really serious? He goes, yeah, I'm really. I think we should do that. But I don't know you guys. And they talked me into it. That operation, even though the doctor did a terrific job on it, it took me back 3 years.
Wow.
It took me back, and you can tell by my numbers that my numbers really went down. I couldn't turn. I had a big brace. And I wasn't a great skater to begin with. It just really bothered me. In training camp, I know every second day they had to put a needle and drain my knee because there was so much fluid in there, and it was awful. It was awful, and that took me back 3 years, and my numbers went down. It wasn't very good. And I think I made a mistake. I should have just kept on playing the way I was playing, because even though I may have sat out maybe 10, 11 games a year, at least my legs were there, and I didn't have to worry about a brace or, worrying about my knee as much as I did before. And that took me back. And I haven't said that to a whole lot of people, Mark, so you're special when I say that, because I haven't said that to a whole lot of interviews that I've had taken.
I appreciate that, because I had not known that. And, a lot of players in that generation, I work very closely with the Boston Bruins alumni now, and get a chance to talk with a lot of guys on a weekly basis, and things were different then as far as operations and medical situations, and you make the best decision at that time for your career and for your team, but it's different than it is now, obviously. Than if it were now.
They didn't scope it, Mark. They didn't scope it. They just cut me open for about 50 stitches, and I had a cast from my waist right down to my toe for the whole summer. And it was awful. It was just awful. Yeah. It was awful.
Did not know
if
that.
If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. That set me back at least 3 years. And then Chicago thought I was done. I was too old. I couldn't do it anymore. And I went to L.A., which was a great place. City L.A. was great. I loved L.A. I loved the players there too, but I couldn't afford to live there. Nowadays they spill more than I made, and I couldn't afford to live there. So Eddie Johnstone, the guy that made me captain in Chicago, was in Pittsburgh, and Lemieux was there, and he said, I want you in Pittsburgh. And I said, okay. And I was negotiating a contract extension with L.A., and they were kind of balking and kind of hesitating and all that kind of stuff. And I had a really good year with L.A. I played with Bernie Nichols and Jimmy Fox, and pretty good numbers. And I thought I couldn't live there any longer, so I left and went to Pittsburgh and played with Mary Lemieux on his left side, and actually we roomed together on the road. And it was second year, and we just it was supposed to take care of him, make sure he was doing things right.
I guess you did a good job of that. What was your? I worked in Pittsburgh in the '90s with the Penguins. Had a chance to see Mario a lot, and it just, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, with that size, with that skill, it seemed like sometimes, some nights, he could do whatever he wanted to do. What was your impression of a 19-year-old Mario Lemieux, and your relationship as a mentor to him?
I went to training camp, and my first year there, I had to sign a contract and going down, moving everything down there and getting settled down in the house. I went to training camp, and we were scrimmaging. We worked out in the morning, and then we scrimmaged in the afternoon. And I couldn't believe the moves he could do with either falling or not losing a stick. I just sat there and I go in amazement. I go, are you kidding me? Newspaper guy said, how would you describe Muriel? What were the words to describe Muriel? And I said, I'll describe Muriel. I said, if God put anybody on this earth to do one particular thing, it was Muriel Lemieux to play hockey.
Right.
He had the size, the skating ability. His shot wasn't great, but it always seemed to find a crease or someplace where the goalie wasn't. He would score. But his stick handling. Terry, go to the net with his stick on the ice. Go to the net. And keep on telling me. And I go to the net with a stick on the ice, and sure enough, would hit the puck would hit my stick and go in the net. And he just kind of shrug it off like, I told you. But the amazing thing when guys would make him mad, and you could hear him all through the rink when the defenseman had the puck behind the net. He'd leave it, and he'd get wound up. He picked the puck up behind the net, and I went to the net.
Right.
Because I knew there was going to, if he didn't score, there was going to be a rebound, and I was going to be there to score it. Tremendous. He had so much skill and talent, just so much skill and talent, and he was an amazing player. Amazing.
Absolutely. Terry, you end your career with the North Stars, and you immediately go into coaching, which I wanted to ask you a question about that because I failed to ask you previously. Now you've played with a lot of coaches, a lot of different styles. You started out with Billy Dineen and the WHA. Which coach, if anyone in particular, had the most influence on your future coaching approach?
I was really blessed by having really good coaches. Like Bill Dineen, he wasn't the best X and O's, but he was such a terrific guy and treated you like a man and a professional that if you lost the game, you felt bad because you lost the game, but you lost the game because he was your coach and you didn't want to lose against. You didn't want to lose him. You didn't want to disappoint him because he was just an amazing guy, amazing person, and I loved him. And he was the type of guy that would sit right next to you in the bar and have a drink and talk about your family and not blink an eye. Going, we're supposed to be doing this because he treats you like a man and a pro. We responded the same way as a team. I don't know. I had so many of them. Pat Quinn was one guy that I really respected. He was well prepared. I really liked him. I just can't pinpoint one because they all had a special way of doing things. Roger Nielsen, and I loved Roger too. And I'll tell you the reason why. Again, I wasn't overly skilled, and he had categories of, the next day after game, and he'd rate the guys, who did what, and this, and this.
Right.
And he knew that I worked hard, and I wanted to win, and I'd do anything to do it. And there wasn't a category that I was good at. So I really think in my own mind, he made up one so I could have that own category that they say, oh, Terry, you did this, you got this going for us, and it kind of made me feel good all about it. But I really think that he did the category for me, and I always appreciated that. And he was a very special person, a very special coach too. His X's and O's were tremendous. A quiet leader. Leader. A
little ahead of his time too. He was. I
think so.
He was a tactician and a video guy and statist. He kept track of the various stats. Before that became the norm.
I totally agree. He was ahead of his time. You're absolutely right, Mark. I agree with you.
Terry, I do appreciate the time today. I had just a couple more quick questions for you.
Sure.
First of all, your coaching career spans almost 20 years of in various leagues, in the Central League, in the IHL, etc. Right now, what is your status? Are you looking to get back into the game, or what's your thought process there?
Yeah, I haven't coached in the last year and a half, and it doesn't bother me to be like the good Lord bless me. I knew it was my time to quit hockey, to play. I knew it was time to step down. I didn't even try for negotiate with other teams. I knew that I was done, and the good Lord blessed me by giving me 1 year in Minnesota. Play a few games and just take the rest of the year off and say, you know what, well done, young man, well done. You did what you had to do with the talent you had.
Right.
I'm going to give you a whole year off, which I truly appreciated. I walk away, if something comes out, if somebody calls me and say, Terry, we need you. I've only missed. I started up. It was 5 new teams, brand new teams, right from scratch.
Right.
Brand new team, and I think I missed the playoffs 4 times in the last 15 years, and I missed the last one. I missed by a game because we had so many injuries. But I really enjoy coaching. I love to see the young kids do what I tell them and put a system together, and they do it, and they win. And you think that, well, maybe I am doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing. I tell them to do. We're winning hockey games. And we had a team in Laredo, and this was a good team. I put a really good team together. Our season, we had 48 wins, 8 losses, and 8 ties.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. And we won a championship in the 7th game in overtime. It was a remarkable year. We had in Laredo, Texas, go figure. And we the NBC or CBS did a feature of our team, hockey at the border, and how well it was going. And we used to pack them in 7,000 a game, and it was incredible. And we won a championship. We had over 8,000 people in the building. We had over 2,000 people outside watching it on screen.
Wow.
And we won a championship, and we won the championship in overtime, and we celebrated on the ice and going crazy and throwing stuff, and we were cheering. We went back in the dressing room, and I swear to goodness, 20 minutes later, I could still hear them cheering.
Right.
It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And we had a little thing after the next day, and the mayor was there, and they said, "We are the world champions." And they said, the championships of the Central Hockey League. He goes, "That is our world."
Right.
The mayor said, and I'm going, "That's cool, so cool."
Absolutely.
She was involved in getting the arena there, and she was involved in us being so successful. But that was a thrill, winning it. We won it twice there. And for the first 5 years, we went to the quarterfinals the first year, and won 2 championships and went to the finals 2 other times. We had a really good team.
Absolutely, and you like you said, you were involved in all kinds of startup situations, and your win-loss record is incredible. But it must have been in the end. I'm not saying your coaching career is over. I'm just saying when you look back at where you are at this point, your ability to positively impact young men, communities, has to be a very gratifying thing for you.
Yeah, the gratifying thing is my own coaches, my own players either call me or text me, see how I'm doing, and see how they're doing, and tell them how they're doing. That makes me feel good. And there's quite a few of them that do that call me up or text me and say, "How you doing, coach? And this is what's happened to me, and this and that. I'm doing this now. And if you ever need anything along that line, give me a call." It's just gratifying. I see boys come in and they leave as young men, and that makes me feel good.
Absolutely, and that really is what it's all about. I had one more quick question for you, and I'm working on a collaboration with Andre Lacroix. So, 77-78 season, you lose the Howes to New England, but Scott Campbell comes in, and also Andre Lacroix comes in. I'd like to get your impressions of, you played against him, you played with him, great personality. What kind of
He may be one of the slickest little forwards that I think I've ever played with or against. He was so slick. He would make a move that you didn't think he was going to make, but he did. He'd make a pass. There's no way you're going to make that pass. He'd make that pass and put it in the guy's stick. He would be in a position that everybody was over there. He'd be there by himself, and all of a sudden the puck would just magically go to him. He'd put it in the empty net. Terrific guy. Everybody really liked him. He always had a smile on his face. He's always in a good mood. Andre Lacroix was just a really classy man. He just got classy, man, but he was so slick. He was just, he little head fake there, and the guy would go for it, he'd go the other way. It's just,
right.
It's just little things that you think that, well, that's not a big thing, but whoa, look what happened. Whoa, are you kidding me? It was one of those going, wow, this guy's freaking good.
Right.
This guy's really good. And you look at his points and you go, how does a guy like that get all those points? Well, watch him play. Watch him play. Because you put him with guys that can score goals, and he's going to put up huge numbers, goals and assists.
Right.
And the guys that played with him loved to play with him because he knew he was going to get the puck in a situation where they didn't think they could. He did. He got it to him. He was an amazing player. He was a slick and amazing player. And always smile and happy, and he's just a good team guy. He just always in a good mood. I like Andre Lacroix a lot. I like him a lot. I didn't like him when I played against him, but I liked him when I saw him on my team.
Right. Well, he's still doing well. We had a Whalers reunion a few months back, and he came up for that, and I had a chance to spend a lot of time with him. And he's still the same guy, still upbeat, happy, positive, and I'll be happy to share this your comments with him.
Please say hello to him. Please say hello to him for me. He's just a terrific guy, a terrific player. But I have to say that Hartford, I always had a lot of respect for Hartford. A lot of respect. I love their uniforms, first of all, and I right next to the hotel, the mall, they had the building. I thought that was pretty cool, but I always thought they had a very close knit team, and I always respected that. And I always thought they had a really good organization, and I had a lot of respect for Hartford and what they did. They won a championship, I think, the couple of years before I got there.
Yes.
I just think that they were a classy bunch of guys. The front office people did well, and I think the players did well. I had a lot of respect for that organization.
No, absolutely. It's always a little bittersweet going back to Hartford because, as you said, in the WHA days, the Whalers were one of the most stable, well-supported financially and fan-wise franchises. Yeah. And, of course, once you lose a team, it's hard to get it back. But I appreciate comments there. And more so, I appreciate the time you spent with us today. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I could talk to you for 2 hours. I promise I'll get you get back to your household chores. But anyway, Terry, we really appreciate this, and we'll be keeping close tabs on you, and we wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thanks, Mark. I had a great time. It's really good talking with you. It's nice to reminisce a little bit and talk about players. And of course, I live in Dallas. There's not a whole lot of people I can talk hockey about, so it's always nice to hear from you and other people that we can talk hockey. But I appreciate the call and the nice, kind words you said about me, and it's much appreciated. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Terry. Talk to you again soon. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mark.
Thanks for listening to the Pro Hockey Alumni Podcast. Be sure to visit us at prohockeyalumni.org.